Welcome to another MindCog video. Today I'm going to go over how a CBT thought journal can help you and how to use one. I will be using a CBT thought journal that I made up to show you as an example. If you'd like to use this same journal layout worksheet that I have, I will leave a link in the description for you to download it. Part of CBT is understanding your thoughts and your moods as well as patterns. Before I dive in and show you the thought journal worksheet and give an example by filling one out, let's talk about each section and how this worksheet will help you. So, thoughts and moods. You may have common thoughts or moods that you can easily remember and write down. However, with your CBT, you want to try and recognize all of your thoughts and moods and look for the patterns. These patterns could be certain days, certain times of the day, such as first thing in the morning or late at night. The next section is what brought it on. They can also be related to situations such as anxiety just before going to work, but disappears once you've started. What's the intensity? Keeping a record of the intensity scale can also help with understanding. Is this thought or mood always on the low side or the high side? Is the anxiety always high before going to work, but medium to low throughout the rest of the day? This can help to start identify which triggers are worse for your moods and thoughts than others, as well as which should be addressed first. What is your reaction? Knowing what your reaction is to the mood or thought helps in understanding it better. Which moods or thoughts cause anxiety, frustration, anger, depression, and so on. Coping skills used. It's also helpful to keep in your journal what coping skills you use and whether or not they're helping you. Did you take medication? Tracking if you had to take a medication to overcome what you were feeling or thinking can be useful as well. For instance, was your anxiety so high that you had to take an anti-anxiety medication to deal with it? This also helps when looking back to see how often you're having to take a certain medication for a certain mood or thought. Over time, you can also determine if you are taking more or less as time goes on. Is this new? Knowing if the mood or thought is a new one helps in identifying if something new has started. If you've never experienced it before, is this a one-off type of thing, or is it going to end up being repetitive? If you need to know when the mood or thought started, you can go back to look at the date and be able to provide yourself or healthcare professional with that information.
All right, so this is the thought journal. I'll take you through it really quick and give an example filling it out myself. Up here, you can obviously do the date and time. But moving down, so you're going to start with your initial thought and put down what your thought or the mood is. So in this case, I'm having I'll just type it in. I have a feeling and thought that is persistent that I will never be in a relationship again. So the next one is what brought on this thought or mood. For me in this case, this has been a constant thought and a mood for quite a while. So I'm just going to put that in. It's something that's reoccurring and there's no one specific thing that causes it to come about. So being a thought slash mood for several years, and I'll just add in that nothing specific brings that on. So on a scale of 1 to 10, you're going to want to put down the intensity. So for me, this is an 8. The next section, my reaction to the thought and mood. So for me, it's that it brings on more depression and feelings of resignation and belief that this is true. So I'll just put that in. So depression and feelings of resignation in the belief that this is true. All right, so for the next part, coping skills that I used. For this, I often go back to CBT because this is more of a thought issue. So what I do with this is when you get into CBT more, you're going to go through a thought record where you give yourself, and part of it is giving yourself evidence for and evidence against this, and then reframing the thought. So for me, I use that evidence that I've had relationships in the past, that I'm getting better slowly, and that I will have a relationship again in the future. So you want to just jot down whether or not the coping skill that you used helped. In this case, for me, it only helps somewhat. I just can't bring myself to actually believe it. I can change the thought, but I can't bring myself to believe it. So I'll just put that in there. Bring myself to believe it, even though I can show evidence against it and change the thought. And you're going to write down if you had to take any medication. So obviously for something like this, there isn't really any medication to take. So I'll just put in no. And is this a new thought or mood? Again, no, I've had this for several years. So that's all there is to filling out the CBT thought record. This can help you keep track of things, when things started, what you've done that has and what hasn't worked. If you go to see a doctor or a therapist, you can use this to discuss with them. They might be able to give you ideas, and you might come up with your own ideas, and so on. And so that's all there is to it. Again, I will leave a link to this worksheet if you'd like to download it and print it off and use it yourself.
Thank you for tuning into this video. If you'd like to support this channel, please click the subscribe button below. Until next time, have a great week.